The Mauser 8805. Now this is probably the most common variant of the rifle that you're going to find. And it was a final modification done by the German government, started in 1905, with the adoption of the S bullet or the Spitzer bullet from the older round nose bullet, the early style bullets. The reason you're going to get a lot of confusion and confliction with this gun and the variants and different conditions is the Germans adopted this gun originally in 1888. They had several problems, which I covered with the prick punch mark and the Z on this other older variant. Okay, these were fixes for the early problems. Okay, and if you notice it has an S on there, but the receiver has not been converted to use stripper clips. Okay, the reason for that is, you have to remember, they did the early modifications to this gun, and then in 1905 they decided to come out with the S cartridge. So now the guns had to be somewhat modified again. And the S cartridge, which was, see, 1888, 1898, within 10 years the Germans adopted a whole other different rifle system. And while they were working on getting production up and making enough 98s to arm its troops, this gun was still in service. This gun also was used in reserve, second and third line reserves. So they didn't get rid of the guns immediately, and it took them a period of time to build up the 98s to replace and re-equip the Army completely. So these guns were modified to use the S bullet and the stripper clips. While other guns, and see, this is where the S on the chamber, all that was is they ran a chamber reamer down there. So this, in an emergency, this ammunition can be used. And the difference is, with the thicker bullet, the diameter here on the case and here on the neck, this is wider. So running a chamber reamer down allows this cartridge's chamber in this gun. But it was not modified to accept stripper clips. The reason is they still had large stockpiles of the old ammo. Okay, so the intent was to keep the old ammo stockpiles and the old guns in the reserves, and then they did the S conversion, so if for some odd reason like war, which happened in 1914, you know, then you can still shoot the S ammo in this gun, you know, in case of an emergency, say. But a number of the guns were converted specifically to use the stripper clips. And we'll take a look at them, and I have three variations here. The conversions weren't all uniform and weren't all done at the same time. And in the meantime, they had more confusion, you know, if there were surplus guns or guns a little bit more beat up that they didn't feel the conversion was necessary or cost effective, they were being sold to foreign countries. Germany was also exporting these rifles at that time. So you will find these guns on the surplus market in a varying array of conditions, different types of modifications, and you know, and then plus, like I was saying, a lot of people nowadays, because these guns are hard to find, will gather up parts and slap them together and make a complete rifle, and you may unwittingly be buying just a collection of parts, which can or cannot be built into a usable rifle. So we're going to take a closer look at the 8805 conversion. First we'll take the noticeable differences. I'll remove the bolts. The bolts were not modified in any way for this conversion. It'd be easier to see. Here's the original magazine, and if you notice there's a notch cut on this one. All of them had this little notch, and what that was to do is to allow the pointed bullets to clear. I guess the pointed bullets, yes, there, put them side by side. As you can see, the pointed bullets stick out a little bit more. I think you can see that. So they had to cut a little bit of clearance in there. And on the top, they welded they riveted two metal tabs up here on the top of the receiver. And then a groove was cut in, and this allowed a stripper clip to go in like this. Okay? Take a better look at it. Tabs. And then they made a little, this here has a very slight, like little scallop or chamfer. Now I'm going to go and compare this. I got 3 variations of this, so we're going to take a look at that first.